Hi, thanks so much for joining me. Today we are talking about items on the Glamour Beauty Awards list for 2018, as well as the InStyle 2018 Best Beauty Buys. Specifically, we're looking at primer, foundation, and concealer today. I'll have a series that includes eyes and lips, and then also blush, bronzer, highlighter, and powder. So if you're interested in seeing those, please subscribe if you haven't already, because I will be talking about those in the near future. So what happened is I took the Glamour edition with me on vacation, had a chance to read through it, remembered that InStyle also had a list, and I compared them side by side, and there was some overlap, not very much though. And then I looked at my needs and what I tried before and what I wanted to try. So that's kind of how I ended up putting both lists together and selecting the items that I did. So in this case, the primer was something I don't remember trying before. The foundation I definitely haven't tried before and I really wanted to. And then there were two concealers that were mentioned and I tried one and haven't tried the other. So mostly they're new products to me, and the reason why I haven't talked about these in the past is because when these items come out, beauty bloggers, vloggers, they get PR packages and they flood the internet with information, and I think they do a really good job with it. So I didn't feel like I needed to add another video to that. So what I focus on are things that aren't talked about as much, and that's why you haven't seen these things on my channel. But that doesn't mean I want to try them. I thought I'd try them together as kind of a group of items and let you know my thoughts along the way and let you know if I agree with some of the hype. But I have to say, just looking at these right here, I'm so glad I tried them because they are going to be things that will be in regular rotation. So if you want to see the try-on, please keep watching. I've got some preliminary makeup on, just eyebrows and some eyes. I'll probably fix it along the way, but let's just start with the primer. We've got the Becca Backlight Priming Filter Face Primer, and I haven't tried this before, although I really like the color because it's a little bit warm and it goes with my skin tone. So there it is, just on the arm. And I did, of course, have to try this out once. Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday I tried it on just for fun. You can apply this to specific areas of your face, but I'm just going to apply it all over. I like the warmth of the shade. This reminds me a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury Brightening Youth Glow, the way that it reflects the light. This has a bit more of a consistency that you can tell will stick makeup to it though. A little bit tackier. Not in a bad way though. You can tell that the makeup will just grip to it. So there's a primer. I can tell you already that because I was outside yesterday riding around in a convertible in the sun, it really did keep the makeup from moving around, and it was pretty warm yesterday, so I'm impressed with how this has performed. If you didn't catch it when the title went by, it is one of the 2018 Glamour Beauty Award winners. The next product is foundation. It's by Giorgio Armani, and both Glamour and InStyle had Giorgio Armani foundations as beauty bests, but they had different formulas. So the Glamour one was, let's see, it was the Power Fabric one, and this is the Luminous Silk foundation. I thought I'd try this one because I don't have many that are light to medium. This is light to medium, and I was looking for something really skin-like, and the color was really great. I looked at both of them, and I know that they have similar coating, but the colors just looked different. I think the formula has something to do with it. And the other one was long wear, so I'm looking for something a little bit more natural looking. I know I have these dark spots. We're gonna address that in a moment with concealer. I picked up the shade 7.5, and this is one of the best color matches I've seen, high end, low end, anything. Really impressed with their color selection. I'll give a little swatch here so you can see what it looks like on my arm. So I'm just gonna take one pump of this, and I'm gonna dot it on. I do have some olive in my skin, but if I go too far on the olive side, it can look a little bit green on me. So I've got to be careful to stick with, even if it's got some olive in it, more on the yellow side. I'm going to take this Shiseido foundation brush just to buff it out a little bit. You can see that it just evened out the overall tone of my skin, but I'm still gonna need concealer. Very, very skin-like. I'm gonna add another pump. I'm just gonna add this to the areas that need a bit more coverage, center of my face. And you can see that that addressed some of the darker areas. Builds up really nicely so it doesn't get cakey. The Backlight primer has really set down a nice base for this they work well together. That's really nice for skin-like finish, and the true test is when you go outside in the natural light to see what it looks like. If it looks like skin, then you know you've got a good product. Next, we're going with 2 concealers for different purposes. I do have the Clay de Peau, and I have an extended video on this if you want to see it. I'm just going to use this under the eyes though. I'll link that video below if you haven't seen it yet. This was the editor's pick for the Glamour Beauty Awards, and it was the InStyle pick as well. So both of the publications recognize this as one of the best concealers, if not the best concealer. Again, I think it's a nice one. I think I expect a lot with the price point, but it's not my holy grail. I found a better way to use it than when I initially applied it. This is in the shade Honey, by the way. I'll swatch it right next to the foundation. I've got the Rain Morris concealer brush. I've still got to make that brush favorites video. There are brushes that I tend to rely on more often than others, and this has become one of them. So I'm just taking the brush onto the concealer and then just adding it. I'm concentrating it more on just this area right here, and then kind of working it in and blending it into the rest of the eye area. And then of course right here in the corner, a little trouble spot there. That changes the shape of my eye, this right here. If I cancel that out, then I can emphasize this shape more than, say, a downward turned eye at the end here. So it works really nicely under the eye. I do get some creasing, but I do like how it has SPF. Most concealers don't, especially in the eye area. So if you can protect your eye area, I think that's a great thing. It's got SPF. Yeah, it's got SPF 25. Next is the Nars Soft Matte Complete Concealer in Biscuit. And normally I would pick up the color next to it, which was Caramel. It is closer to my skin tone, but this has more of that peachiness to it, which over time I've learned is really good for my darker areas. So if you have that issue, you can take a look here. Here's the swatch. Primer, the foundation, the Clay de Peau, and then we've got the Nars right here. So you can see how much more peach it is compared to the foundation itself. I take the same brush, and I didn't really remove the honey color yet. This is a little bit dark, you'll see going on, but that peachiness cancels out that darkness. As you can see, it does a really nice job. And right away you can see it's almost erased those marks. So this is one of those products that I think, why did I not try this before? Then I'll take that foundation brush again, and I'm just gonna buff it in. Mostly around the edges. Yeah, this is the closest thing to an eraser that I've found, which is really impressive because I've been trying out a lot of concealers. I know I feature some, but there's probably twice as many I haven't talked about that I've been kind of trying in the background that haven't worked, which is why I haven't talked about them. I have a very specific need when it comes to concealer. I'm not really looking for the highlighting piece as much as I am to make something look more like skin and an even skin tone. I'm gonna add another layer. I have been doing this in very thin kinds of layers to build it up and look like skin at the same time. Just taking care of some little acne scars here. So just kind of keep going back and forth between the beauty blender, the foundation brush, and the concealer until I get to a point where it looks like that darkness is canceled out and it looks like skin. So as you can see, I'm adding even another layer. I'm gonna add a little bit just down here. I get some darkness right under here. But yeah, you can see really how well that blends in. And as Lisa Eldridge says, thin layers. 1 step forward, 2 steps back, which is what I feel like with this concealer, but it's definitely worth it because the result is pretty amazing. And I'm gonna continue. So this just is on repeat until I feel like it's good to go. I'll even go out into the natural light just to make sure. Because like I said, that seems to be the real test for me. So for me, that's pretty good. I mean, it's definitely less frustrating than when I use other concealers. Sometimes I just literally want to cry. It takes so long. This has really cut down the time and I'm really impressed with the results. I'm gonna go ahead and just finish the rest of my makeup and kind of fix the eyes a little bit because I know I prepped my skin, by the way, with some face oil, and that made it a little bit harder to get the eyes on because I was using the Laura Mercier pencils and it's a little bit slippery anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix that. I'm gonna add powders and bronzers and a little bit of contouring down my nose and lips, and I'll be right back. Here we are, completely done with makeup now. As for these products, would I recommend them? Okay, let's go through them one by one. The Becca Backlight Priming Filter Primer. Yes, really beautiful shade. I love the way that makeup adheres to it. It wears really well. Didn't bother my skin. I've worn it only a couple times now, but yeah, I would definitely recommend this if you haven't tried it yet. Worth the hype. Next, I went in with the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. Would I recommend this? If you are looking for a color and you are similar in coloring to me, this is almost the perfect shade. I know it read a little bit more light on camera, but it really isn't. It is very much my skin tone. 7.5, looks like skin. Again, wears beautifully. Can't say enough about it. Again, worth the hype. I'm glad I tried it. The next item, the Clay de Peau Concealer. Yes, I still have the same feelings about it as I did in my initial video. Because the price point is so high, your expectations are also really high for it. So I think that might be part of the issue. I just expect magic from it. It does have the 25 SPF though, and I wish more concealers had that, because I would definitely be into that, because I would like to protect my skin as much as possible, especially the areas I am concealing. So I think it was really smart of them to do that. Nice concealer, but I would still be looking for something even after using this one, so this is not the end of the line for concealers for me. Bringing me to my next product, the Nars Soft Matte Complete Concealer in Biscuit. This is the closest thing to an eraser that I have found in terms of taking care of the dark areas. Again, when it comes to concealer, I'm not trying to really build dimension or anything like that. I'm really trying to just make my skin as even toned as possible and still look like skin at the same time, and something that will stay put. Sometimes, especially when it gets hot, my makeup will slide around, and when I have glasses on, because the bridge of my nose is so small, the glasses will rest right here and it will start to wear away on that makeup. So I have to be really careful about what kind of sunglasses I'm wearing too, so it doesn't rest right here on my cheeks, because that will lift the makeup too. But the combination, I think, between the primer and this have really done something to get those things to stick together and stay for a while, even in the heat. Really impressed with how this goes on skin-like. The opacity of it, that's a word, right? The opacity, the level of opaqueness on this is pretty amazing. It is more like, it's like a camouflage, but it still maintains that skin-like texture, which I don't know how they do it, because I'm really impressed. Out of all of these things that I've never tried, I don't think I've ever tried this primer before. I've never tried this, and I've never tried this. Really happy I did that. Maybe I should follow the hype. I don't know, but I'm really pleased with all of those items. Again, out of all those, Clay de Peau, it's nice. It's very nice, but for what I need it for, it doesn't hit the mark. But it is a very nice concealer, and I will continue to use it just on those darker areas, probably layered with the Nars because of the sunscreen. Really like that about it. So if I was able to give you some information about these, if you were curious, if you read the same articles that I did and you were wondering what shade will work for me, what's the consistency like, will it work for my skin? Again, I have dry skin usually. I do get a little bit oily here in this zone. So I know I look for very specific things, and I love the whole idea of skin-like makeup. That's kind of my thing. So all of those things address that. This will be a 3-part series. I'll do an eyes and lips version, and then I'll also do like the rest of the face products, like bronzer, blush, highlighter, powder, all those things on the list. So if you're interested in seeing that, please subscribe if you haven't already. If you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Thanks. The matte soft, next is the Nars Soft and Matte Complete. The foundation, the Chloe, blah. If you didn't catch that, that was one of the Glamour, oh gosh almighty. Next is the Nars,